So call me crazy, but I'm really liking this New York Giants defense for fantasy purposes this year. It's the fantasy sports boss. So again, listen, defenses and kickers. I basically put them in the same category. These options are where you use your last two picks in a draft for. Obviously, the kicker will be in the last round if you even still use kickers. I don't use kickers in any of my leagues anymore, just because the best kicker in fantasy, or excuse me, the best kicker in real life. Let's go with maybe Harrison Butker won't necessarily have the most points because the Chiefs score touchdowns at a high rate. So there's really no correlation to being the best real life kicker and the best fantasy kicker. So that's why I think kickers are obsolete. Now with defense, um, I'm all about streaming defenses. I think it's foolish when you draft a defense early. It's very very rare where the top unit or a top five unit one season repeats the next year. But so for me, it's all about streaming or looking for value. And I really do think the New York Giants defense has a lot of value. This is a really impressive defensive line that's going to get after the quarterback. They drafted Abdul Carter. They still have Kayvon Thibodeau. They have the best defensive tackle in football in Dexter Lawrence, who can get up the field and also accumulate sacks. You have Brian Burns, who went over 8 sacks last year. So you have four guys that can get after the quarterback and pick up sacks. And not only that, they addressed the secondary with Paulson Adebo coming over from New Orleans, who is a decent ball hawk. Jevon Holland from Miami, so they're going to get their hands on the football as well. I know they have some tough matches, especially early in the season, taking on the Commanders right out of the gate. But this defense looks impressive to me. Now here's the thing. Like I said, the early schedule is rough. Washington, Dallas, Kansas City, and the Chargers. So that's definitely a tough stretch there. But they end the season. They have Minnesota. We don't know how good they're going to be with McCarthy there. And then they have Las Vegas during the Fantasy Football Championship week, and Las Vegas is far from juggernaut. I do like this defense this year. If you're really looking for value, for me, it just never pays to draft defenses early. Let me know what you think about this. Post in the comments below.